Hello there, this is Carrie Rhodes. Today is part 2 of my month of card kits. I will be focusing on the Not Too Shabby Lovely Fall Kit of the Month from September 2021. You can see the contents here, and I'm wanting to do these card kit videos because I have a few kits stacking up in my stamp studio, and I thought maybe you would too. So through these videos, I hope I can inspire you and share some ways that you can use up your card kits. My first kit is to set a date to play with your kit, like I've done to make the cards from this kit. My second tip is when you don't know where to get started, pull out the stamp sets in that kit and stamp out all the images, maybe 1, 2, or 3 times. My third tip is to play with the special things in the kit. Like this kit came with that background stencil. So I already have made a background for it and it's ready to go with this kit. So you pull out that special thing, maybe it's a die set, and start playing with it. So there's the contents of the kit. If you'd like to see the full unboxing video, I have it linked for you in the upper right corner right now. Now I have the Knit Diamond stencil and the background I previously made using Distress Oxide inks in my unboxing video, but I wanted to make some more backgrounds. So I covered the back of this with some Zig 2-way glue, let it dry, and it is very tacky. A lot of glue came out when I was covering the back of this. I might have been a little zealous with applying the glue. So you're gonna see what happens because of that. So I have this kind of dusty blue cardstock I put to the back of the stencil, and then I'm using this Crooked Broom Distress Mica Stain Spray, which I'm in love with, and just spraying that right over the top of the stencil. Now, ink will collect on the top of the stencil itself, so I just put down a piece of white paper to collect that ink and make another background, which I will be using in today's video. Now you can see what happened with my glue. There was a little too much on there. So what I need to do is let this dry, and then I can take my adhesive eraser and remove it. Next, I'm using this grit paste called Grave to stencil on another background using the same exact color of paper. Now, I did clean off the stencil, but apparently not really well. So I am going to get a little tiny bit of transfer on there. I'm okay with that because I am making some cards that are going to be having distress on them. They're having splatter. It's going to be fine. So just make sure you clean off your stencil well. So here you can see what that Grave grit paste looks like. And again, I got more sticky. So again, just go in with the adhesive eraser. Now here's the thing about the mica spray stain. You're going to think that it's dry, but if you can rub it and the mica smears, it's not actually dry. Let it dry a little bit longer and then you won't have that smearing. Okay, so here's the adhesive eraser, and I'm just showing you how I can go in between those and remove the adhesive. Now I cut all of these in half so I'd have backgrounds for my 3x6 cards, only I accidentally cut them to 5.5, so I will alter the size of those. Here I'm just showing you the 2 main colors I'm going to be using for my color palette. I really wanted to limit the colors I was using to take away some of the choices. Sometimes when you're doing a kit, you have too many choices and it's easy to get frozen and not proceed. You know what I mean? So here I just wanted to focus on this blue and brown color palette inspired by this box. Now I went with the colors that kind of went with that broomstick and the cardstock I picked out for my backgrounds. However, it doesn't like match exactly to some of the patterned papers that I wanted to use, like the glittery one from the Slimline pack, but it's all going to work out. The paper from that Slimline paper pack is the only thing I don't end up using in today's video, but I really just wanted to dive in, be creative, and have fun playing with this kit. So stamping out my images beforehand and just coloring them in. I just sat and colored this. I watched some YouTube videos and I colored these images up, and it was enjoyable. I really had fun doing it. And that's what I want a kit to be. I don't want it to be a thing that causes stress by sitting in the corner. So I had a good time creating these cards, and that's what I hope that you can do too when you pull out your kit. So I'm just going to show you the coloring on the vest and the jacket. I just went back and forth between these two colors doing some really simple coloring, and then I used those two colors throughout the rest of the coloring. I did have to bring in a couple other shades, like for skin, for like to add white. I brought in some warm grays, but I'll show you all the markers that I used. So here I am just finishing up that jacket, and then I do bring in a white gel pen to add highlights, and the way I added the highlights to the jacket, I really think adds another level that it really needed. So also going back in with the same color after it sets for a minute really can add a darker shadow. So there I just added it over the drawstring and the buttons and the cuffs, and it really helped them pop. But here you can see all the images and how I really just focused on those two colors. Now there's no dye for this, so I cut mine out with my scan and cut on my silhouette. Any electronic cutter would do, or fussy cutting. Again, just sit down, watch some YouTube videos, cut them out. It's nice and fun. All right, so here I am coloring out this scene from the Welcome Fall stamp set, and I thought you'd want to see the coloring on this one the most, because I don't know about you, but like coloring a little pumpkin is easier to me, and I have lots of ideas for that, than coloring an entire scene like this. It was intimidating for me too, but I just decided to stick with those colors that I had previously chosen, and sometimes I would color part of it and not know how I wanted to color the next part, so I would just move on and color something that I knew how I wanted to color it. So here I did bring in some E13 and some, I believe it was E52, to color those banners, and you can see I did little crosshatch and then colored over the top. I kind of wanted it to look like burlap, because I feel like burlap's a very fall decor thing, and it inspired me to actually use burlap on my cards. Next, I'm coloring this throw blanket that's underneath to look like buffalo check. There is pattern paper in this kit that's black and white buffalo check, which makes me so happy. So I just used two different warm grays, W8 and W6, and went in opposite directions with those two to create that buffalo check blanket, and I was really happy how it turned out. So for the wood floor, I used a dark brown marker to add those lines, and then I'm going over it with E15 to create my wood floor. And then for the pumpkins, I did a little buffalo check, and then I added some polka dot on the other sections, because these have stitching on them, so they kind of look like something that would be sewn. So I thought it'd be cool to have two like different patterns of fabric, so to speak. For my bench, I decided to color the bottom half so it looked like wood, and the top half to look like it was wrought iron. For the floor, I added a little more shadowing right under the bench to give it a little bit of depth perception, because there would be a shadow under that bench. I used B000 to add in a little sky, because I wanted this to be a front porch scene, but it could also be an entryway. All right, so next what I did was I just laid out all my pieces and kind of giving myself ideas on how I wanted to put these cards together. And then I started creating. So I'm adding some splatter using my mica spray stain. This is juniper berry, I believe. Juniper. Yeah, and then I splattered that, let it dry, and I'm adding a piece of burlap. Now this was 2-inch burlap ribbon. I cut off the edges, like the seam of the ribbon, and then I just distressed the edges, like pulled a little extra strand off so it looked a little bit more rustic. Now look at the back of this paper. You could just use this, right? This paper, and have the scene. It's a 6x6, but it's very similar to the one I colored. It has a plaid pumpkin. I didn't look at it to color this, but I did see it when I did the unboxing. So I made this a 6x6 card, so I just had to trim down that pattern paper a tiny bit. And now I'm adding a triple bow. You're just going to weave this around your fingers like a figure 8 3 times, and then wrap the end around the middle, and then tuck the end of the string through the part you wrapped around. I stuck this down with a glue dot and some glue. And then I am going to add a glue dot and some glue to add a piece of the ephemera from this kit in the form of that little leaf. And I like that the little leaf seems to be pointing towards the picture. And then I had a scrap of that buffalo plaid I added to the inside of the card. And now we'll move on to card number 2. All right, so this is the background I previously made, and I just splattered it with both the broomstick and the juniper to create some sparkly, shimmery splatter. I laid out my images, but I haven't stuck them down, so I made sure I would stamp my sentiment, enjoy the little things, so that I didn't take up any room or cover it up once I wanted to add my images. So once I have that stamped, then I was able to go back and add in those images. I did a little mix of gluing them down and popping them up with foam squares, but I thought having the two jackets, like it might be representing a couple that would maybe go on a fall walk together, and so I put the whole little heart between them. And now here you can see I realized my panel I cut to 5.5 inches just out of habit. You know, you make A2 cards, you cut it at 5.5. Yeah, sometimes I'm an airhead like that. And so I just trimmed my card down to be 5 3/4 by 3 inches. On to card number 3. I'm using this panel that has the grit paste on it. I splattered it, yes, with the juniper. You're going to see that on every card. I love splatter. I really think it adds a little something extra to your cards. Then I added this little wood grain pattern paper to the bottom so that my tiered tray would have something to sit on. Next, I have some of the twine. I just pulled the twine apart, so almost like I'm unraveling it, so it was more fuzzy. And then I tied a piece of ribbon or piece of that twine around the center to kind of make a different kind of bow. But do you see how fuzzy that twine is? Which, by the way, this twine is like my favorite thing to buy at the Dollar Tree. It's called jute twine, and it's a huge roll, so it'll last a crafter, a card maker, a long time. I have some vintage photo distress ink that I'm going to just brush on from the little ink cube right onto that pattern paper. It just was too stark white, kind of, even though it's gray. It needed something. Then I added that to my card base, another mini slimline that's 5 3/4 by 3 inches. And then for card number 4, I have a plaid background that I'm going to stamp on to give it a new feel. And I'm using this pumpkin and that same vintage photo because once I start creating with the kit and I get something out, I leave it out so I can use it on another card, and it inspires me in a new way like this to stamp this background. So I just tried to randomly stamp those, move them around a little bit, and then I'm splattering it with the broomstick mica stain, and then I'm going to come around the edge with that same vintage photo and really soften that up. Do you see how it just draws your eye in? It just makes it a little, I don't know, like a little bit more special to me. Next, I have this distress tool that I've had for 100 years, but you can still get them. Tim Holtz has one, and I'm going to rough up the edge of this paper. Now, if you don't have the tool, you can use the edge of your scissors to do this, like with the scissors closed, and it works really good that way too. But it's just going to give that little something extra to that layer. Next, I added some burlap and some of that jute twine. Now, this is the jute twine that has been separated, tied a bow right there, and the little squirrel from the Welcome Fall set is going to go on here. And this saying says, "Pumpkin spice is my favorite season." And I have to tell you a little insider secret. When Jamie was designing these stamps, she asked for suggestions on sentiments to go with them, and this was my suggestion. Pumpkin spice is my favorite season. I hope you like pumpkin spice. My daughter said today I need to make some pumpkin bread, so it's officially pumpkin spice season in my house. You decide when it starts for you, if ever. I know some people not a fan, but it's so fun here. We love it. All right, so I added that to an A2 size card base, and that finishes up this card. I love the squirrel. Squirrels are one of my favorites. Next, I have some speckled egg Distress Oxide ink, and I clustered up 2 leaves and the acorn stamp, and I'm going to stamp right on this wood grain gray and white patterned paper from the kit. There's two paper packs in the kit. One is 6 by 6. It's called Lovely Fall. And then there's a slimline paper pack, which is the one I'm not using. It's lovely though. It is the Lovely Fall Hues, and it has solid paper and glitter paper. All right, so now I'm taking a piece of low-tack tape and putting that across the bottom, and then I'm going to smear on some grit paste. Now this seemed really on trend to me as far as like people making concrete countertops, making DIY projects with concrete on them. Do you know what I'm talking about? So then I decided, let's be really fun and press some burlap into that grit paste and give it some texture. And I don't know about you, but I was almost freaking out about how cool this was. I freezed it right here so you could see the texture in there. I love it. So this is going to be almost like a hearth to set all my images on. So while that's drying, I laid out all my little stamped images, how I liked them, and then I took my same vintage photo ink and distressed the edge of the card base. And then I'm going to pick up all those arranged pieces with a piece of my, what is this called? You know what it's called. You're telling me right now. I can hear you saying it. Cling wrap. It's a special cling wrap that's sticky. Yeah, that. All right, so I'm going to glue this down, and the words on top are going to come back off with my cling wrap. There it is. And then I can add glue to those and stick them back down and just leave them right there on the plastic. It works really good. Ta-da! All right, so then we'll add a bow to this because, I mean, once you have the twine out, every card you're like, how can I put the twine on this one? How can I put the twine on that one? And it really helps get that mojo going. So this one I had just the top and the bottom of my slimline card show, and I thought that was a really fun look. I added a little acorn from the ephemera pack. Also, the 2 pumpkins in this card are from the ephemera pack as well. So it helped really fill in that scene. Next, I have a piece of plastic that something came in, a stamp set, a stencil, some paper. I don't know. I save these because I like to make full panel shakers. I have a friend, Tanya, that's been making them, and she got me hooked. I haven't made one in 100 years, and I'm in love with it now. So I put on my splatter from the broomstick mica spray, and then I added these cute little socks and feet, and then I am going to wrap my panel with this plastic. Now I trimmed it so it's a little bigger than my panel, and then I cut off the corners so it's easier to fold in. So I like to fold in the 2 longest sides first, and I use some double stick tape to do that. It works really well. And then once you have the 2 sides folded in, you can bring back your double stick tape, add that just to one end because we want to leave one open to add our embellishment that's going to shake around. So then we fold that one up, and we have almost like an envelope, right? And then you just toss in some of the fun sequins that come in the kit. I probably used about half because I wanted it pretty full. And then I will put down some more double stick tape to fold down the top piece. And then you can stick this down on your card and you never can see those seams. It's so fun. So now I like to have something at the top of her legs. So I added a little bow, and then I had these flowers in my stash. I had a little closet accident where a bin fell over, and so when I was cleaning it up, I found these flowers, and I was like, I'm pretty sure these would go really well with the cards I'm making right now. I didn't really have gray in the mix, but it kind of works, you know? So then I cut a circle, and this circle is the portion of the paper that had the smear in it, and my sentiment covered it right up. I added double stick tape and glue to the back of this to add it down to my card. And you can see the background paper that I used there looks like knit. That's from the 6x6 paper pad. It's so pretty. And there's my I'm a fall kind of girl card. Card number 7, we have 2 left. I have barely used any ephemera yet on these cards. And in my previous video, the first kit I did this month, I only used ephemera. And so I wanted to make a card that only used ephemera. Of course, I used the stencil, I used some background paper, but I didn't use the stamped images as the focal point for this card. So I'm repeating a lot of the same things that I've done, distressing the edge of the paper, splattering it, sponging it, and then layering things up. So I have this little banner that says, "Let's get cozy," and then this one that says home. It's a little home decor piece on a circle that has been splattered as well. So there we go. All right, card number 8. I could not make a video with all these different size cards and not have a slimline card. So I decided to stamp the background with this acorn. I love acorns. I always have acorns, mushrooms, wood grain, woodland things. I'm a fan. I love it. And then I decided to go ahead and add a little dusting of color around the edge, and then I masked off the end of the card I didn't know what I was doing here, but I was just having fun. And I sprayed the end of it. And now, since I have the inking around the edge, I've got the mica spray stain, I decided I would spritz it and get a little reactive water spray there. Now, this is the piece of ribbon I used to press down into that grit paste, and some of it did stick to it. So I just cut off a portion of it, and I'm going to put it on the back of this panel, also done with that same grit paste, and glue that down to my card. So I'm just building up layers, I'm building up texture. We've got stamping, mica spray, splatter, grit paste, burlap. I love texture and dimension on my cards so much, and this is full of it. So I added my sentiment, enjoy the little things. This is my last stamped image I had left over, so I put that on there, and then why not add some more splatter? I mean, I already did some of the vintage photo splatter, so I have water, distress ink, and distress mica spray, 3 layers of splatter. That makes me very happy. Then I just took a bunch of the ephemera pieces and lined them up and glued them together. Next, I am taking some Journey glaze and brushing that over the top. This is a dollar store brush, so if it gets all yucky, I don't mind that I would have to throw it away. And then I added some glitter. This is glitter from the Christmas release from Tim Holtz. It's called Garland. And just sprinkled that right on while the glaze was wet. Now I feel like I have more of a focal point image, and I'm going to have that sit on this torn piece of brown cardstock. I like the edge that torn paper gives. I don't know, it's yummy. I love it. So there it is, popped up with some foam squares, and then this whole panel gets mounted to my 8.5 by 3.5 inch card for a lovely slimline card. So those are the 8 cards for today. I was just feeling it, feeling very creative. And once you get going with these cards and you have all these ideas flowing, how can I use this spray in a different way? How can I use the grit paste in a different way? How can I put the ribbon on here? Should I put a little strip of burlap there? How can I use these sequins to make a shaker? I always have to make a shaker. Your creativity just keeps building and flowing, and it's kind of hard to stop. Now, if you want to see pictures of each of these cards, you can see them on my blog, carriestamps.com. So if you wanted to replicate anything, the picture's right there and holding still for you. So you can check that out. I'll have a link to it in the description box below, as well as the products from this kit that are still left. The largest stamp set was exclusive to the kit, and the kit did sell out. So sorry about that, but that means a lot of you watching this already have the kit. I will be back again next Tuesday with another kit for you, so stay tuned for that. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe. And if you liked the video, let me know with a thumbs up, and feel free to chat with me in the comments below. Happy stamping! Bye!